She's a teacher of middle school Spanish by day and escapes into superhero stories by night. She's the author of the Menopausal Superhero series that starts with Going Through the Change and other speculative fiction. She writes because it's cheaper than therapy and a lot more fun. The book I mentioned, Going Through the Change, the basic premise is so many superhero stories about mutants. They gain their powers during puberty because of the hormone surge. And her idea was, well, if hormones can cause superpowers, why not menopausal superheroes? And so that is the premise of her book. It's a very clever series, and I highly recommend it. Samantha Bryan.
I'm a lot shorter than James, too. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about my scary sleepover. Alicia said her house was haunted. But Alicia said a lot of things. Alicia told me that her real dad was an actor in Hollywood. Alicia had a boyfriend, but we couldn't meet him because he was in Canada. And Alicia already had a car, just waiting for when she could drive 4 years from now. So even though I was only 12 and not really very good at all at telling when people were lying to me, I had my doubts when Alicia told me her house was haunted. So I said, okay then, prove it. So the next week was this long struggle with my parents to convince them that I should be able to spend the night at Alicia's house, because my parents are the protective sort, and they very much preferred that my friends come to our house where they could watch us rather than me go to my friend's house. And now that I'm a mom myself and I look back at it, I know that some of my friends were a little shady, so I think my parents might have been right about this. But after a week of lots of promises about how good we were going to be and reminding them that I never got in trouble and that I had good grades at school and they could rely on me, they said I could spend the night at Alicia's house. So I showed up and I had my big gym bag full of Mad Libs and makeup and soap bubbles and all the stuff you need for an excellent sleepover. And I knocked on Alicia's door and it just kind of creaked open. Now, I figured Alicia was going to be trying to set me up and scare the heck out of me, so I just walked into her house, like I'd been there before, and yelled her name, Alicia! And she called down from upstairs and came down, and, everything was okay. And plus, it was still daylight at this point. And then that's when she tells me that her mom got an unexpected night shift at the hospital, which meant that it was just me and just Alicia in her creepy railroad shack house all night. So I probably should have told my mom, but I didn't. I went inside, and for a while we did the usual sleepover stuff. We painted each other's toenails. I confessed who I had a crush on this week. She told me about that boyfriend in Canada again. And, did some Mad Libs and got all giggly. And while we're sitting up in her bedroom, I keep hearing weird little noises. So it sounds like somebody's walking around on the roof of the house. But I just tell myself, it's probably a cat. And then I hear this like moany sound, but it's really soft, just like, and I'm like, okay, just like Dad says, these are old houses, and it's just settling. The house is settling, whatever that's supposed to mean, right? And I didn't really freak out until the light started flickering. And even then I was like, okay, lights flicker, maybe her mom didn't pay the electric bill. I don't know. And, but I was freaked out enough that I said, I think we need to go take a walk. And so we went downstairs and we looked in her refrigerator, and the refrigerator was bare. So we decided that it would be a good time to walk down to the gas station that we could get to from her house and buy ourselves some snacks. So late night walk. This is about 11 o'clock by then, and we're never allowed out at 11 o'clock. So it was pretty awesome walking down the street and buying snacks from the seedy looking guy behind the gas station counter. Yeah, we were very excited because we were so daring. And then we got back to her house, and it was so so dark because we had not thought to turn on any lights before we left, and her house is scary looking. It still is. In the town where I grew up in Bellevue, everybody lives near the railroad tracks because there's no place in Bellevue that isn't near the railroad tracks. But there's, how far away from them are you? And she was 2 houses away from them. And so those are the most rundown houses. And late at night, it was pretty scary. So we went in, and I just stood at the bottom of the stairs and waited while Alicia ran on in to turn on lights. And that made for lots of really creepy, scary noises, too. I swear she was dragging a dead body across the floor up there or something. I was getting more and more nervous, but finally she called me up. And so we go back to her room, and, we do some more laughing and playing. We listen to whatever classic album WEBN was playing that night. And finally, I'm getting tired, and so we say we're going to try to go to sleep. And by then, it's probably 2 or 3 in the morning. And we lay down, and it sounds to me like Alicia goes to sleep right away, because that girl can snore. And I'm not able to sleep. You know how it is when you're in a room that you don't spend any time in, and there are all these weird shadows, and you can't tell yourself, oh, that's just the shadow of my teddy bear, because your teddy bear isn't there. So it looks like it's a shadow of some kind of demon. It must be the shadow of some kind of demon. And that little kind of groaning sound was back, and the cat was back on the roof, and then there was skittering in the walls, which I think now was probably mice. But at the time, I was sure it was something that was going to eat me. And so I was getting more and more scared, and I sit up, and I whisper Alicia's name, Alicia, Alicia, and she won't wake up. Then the lights start the flickering thing again, and that's when I stand up, and I'm screaming, and I'm like, I can't stay. I can't stay. I'm throwing all my stuff into my gym bag. It's like, I don't care if it's 3 in the morning and my mom's going to be mad. I'm going home. And then Alicia's door to her room slams shut. Now that one, I can't explain. I can't tell you what would make the house was probably downhill, but why would it slam? Alicia decided she would defend me. So she stood in the middle of her room, and Alicia, we're like 12. Alicia's like 4'8", because she's still only 5'1". And she stands there and she puts her hands on her hips, and she looks up at the ceiling, and she says, "Stop it! You're scaring my friend!" And every one of those weird sounds stopped. So I think Alicia's house maybe really have been haunted. I know that the rest of that night, I didn't sleep. But I did stay until it was actually daylight, and I walked and didn't run home, but I never spent the night at Alicia's house again.